But I hear this a lot about we're being forced to do this. No, you're not. No one forced me to buy an EV, and nobody is forcing you. Hello, I thought today I'd share with you some of the reasons not to buy an EV. That's according to some of the comments I get on my channel. Hello folks, my name's Nigel. I really do hope you can like and subscribe. Now, normally anti-EV comments come from people who don't own EVs, but a couple of them today are from people who do have EVs. Fred Fox, he says, my facts, EV owner for nearly 9 years, 41,000 miles covered. Battery degraded, 42. His next door neighbour bought an I-Pace 12 months ago, 29,000. It's now valued at only 18,000, and he says that's £1,000 per month depreciation. If you go on about cheap overnight electricity, it's insignificant against £1,000 per month depreciation. My EV didn't show any driver information displayed degradation until 5 years old. Now it's 42% degradation after slightly less than 9 years, only 41,000 miles. Only a person with no financial nous would buy an EV. Cheapest setting fire to pound notes. EVs in comparison to premium ICE car, it's no contest. EVs with their degradation are a disposable purchase, and I wouldn't touch another one with a barge pole. Only delusional evangelists buy EVs now, and for good reason. It's a good job he said that about the evangelists at the end, because it was at the beginning I probably wouldn't even read it out. But so here we have then a 9-year-old EV, so I'm guessing it's a Nissan Leaf, one of the early ones, and an I-Pace. Now I thought about buying an I-Pace when I bought my Tesla, and I have to say that before I bought my Tesla, the dearest car I think I'd ever bought was 7,000, an Audi A3, and that had part exchange. At the time I bought my Tesla, you could not buy a good used one for £12,000. But I thought about the I-Pace, but it was way too expensive. And frankly, the reviews on it weren't that great then. And of course now they haven't got any better. And of course, the Nissan Leaf, the early models, the early battery degradation. Now, I'm not trying to take anything away from this gentleman who's left his comment. He's going to be scarred by this, and that's fair enough. But these are not the cars you're buying now. They've improved a lot since then. And of course, look at the reviews. The Jaguar I-Pace was way overpriced for what it actually had. And the Tesla, of course, had the superchargers. So anyway, thanks for that. Appreciate that. At least it's someone who has an EV who is making a comment. And these are comments on EVs that are actually quite old now. Sorry if those anti-EV reviews say, well, I'm just making excuses. But these are actually the facts. If only you'd left out the evangelists at the end, that would have been even perfect. Then the next comment, I'm anti-EV because they're being forced onto us. Don't want one, won't have one, even as a gift. Well, hear this a lot. It's being forced. You're being forced to buy one, are you? Well, I don't think you are. The ICE cars are going to be around for a long, long time, and no one's forcing you. I mean, you sometimes hear this about Christmas. Oh, you can't say Christmas anymore. Well, you can, just because a particular council in a particular area has chosen not to call it Christmas, but to call it something else. You can do it. But I hear this a lot about we're being forced to do this. No, you're not. No one forced me to buy an EV, and nobody is forcing you. I had an MG, a Tesla Model S, both rubbish. MG4 delivered with failing drive, motor bearing. Tesla bought used 49,000 miles. This is a Model S. Leaks, cracked and worn suspension components, and the interior that was falling apart. So I've had better Fiats in the 1980s. So yeah, MG4 built in China. It's a Chinese brand that rescued a great British driving name. I don't know. I've known people left comments who've got MG4s, love them. So it's a genuine comment from someone who's had an MG4 and a Tesla Model S. I'm not going to comment on that. That's what he says. Look at some of my other comments down below, and please leave your comment if you've had a Tesla or any car. Please leave a comment below if you've had any EV, or if you wish to comment on anything whatsoever. Oh, and if you'd like to buy Jen and I a coffee, there is a link further down below. So I'm not really going to say anything more about this other than he thinks they're rubbish. The majority of comments, if you are to look on the comment sections, you'll see are very positive from EV drivers. That's if you care to have a look and see what people have said. And if you are anti-EV, then you probably won't bother anyway. Now, this is quite detailed. Climate change is a fact of life. There were ice ages in the past and there will be ice ages in the future. Just have to learn to live with it. EVs are fine if you're retired and have all the time in the world to wait for your car to charge. Otherwise, people are too busy working to pay taxes that get given to already rich people, businesses, as bribes to buy EVs. Okay, they're fine if you're retired. Yes, guilty as charged. And you have all the time in the world. Well, I charge at night. I put the car in the garage and I plug it in. I'm not waiting for it. If I go on a long road trip, I'm getting a coffee, going to the loo, stretching my legs. I'm never waiting for it. And so I want to dispose of this myth. Often, if I'm having something to eat, the car is charged before the food's on the table. So I wanted to cover that point because, and for the rich, well, this rich guy was born in a prefab and lived in a council house and has worked bloody hard all his life, and I still pay taxes. Bribes to buy EVs, and there was no bribe, there was 20% VAT on the Tesla that I bought, and that was what, 6,600? It was quite a lot of money. So David Lloyd said, EVs don't upset me. Your support for Elon Musk upsets me. You are old enough to know better. Well, I bought the car not because of Elon Musk. I bought it because I thought it was the best car to buy at the time. In fact, I wasn't looking initially at electric. I wanted a car, the very last car, a ridiculous car, an amazing car. I even considered a Jaguar F-Type, which was a nice car. But when I looked at the Tesla Model 3, I realised it was a family saloon with all the space, with the acceleration and performance of a Jaguar F-Type. And I thought, great, what a car to finish on, finish with a big bang. And of course, another comment to that came from Neil below, says, so driving a Tesla doesn't mean you automatically endorse Musk, the same way that driving a Volkswagen doesn't mean you adore its founder. Next point is from Stephen. Great, but if your Tesla batteries go into thermal runaway, you're toast in a very horrifying way. It may be a rare occurrence, which he admits, but not impossible. Some models of Tesla doors do not operate without battery, as they don't have mechanical door openers. He admits that it's very rare. But of course, everyone now is an expert on thermal runaway. What if your petrol tank explodes from Tim? Which is a very good point. Now, this last one, I'll read it in full because I don't want to edit it. And it says, I'll tell you who doesn't like EVs. Kids in Africa forced to extract the materials for your EV. I brought this up before and nobody has ever given me a satisfactory answer. They either ignore it or think it's smart to answer, well, your phone tablet uses some of these materials. So let's just look at the quantities. A typical iPad is around 5 grams. An EV has 8 kilograms lithium and cobalt. I'll be happy to pay the extra dollar, pound, euro if it funded ethical working. I replied that he was talking about cobalt because my LFP battery does not have cobalt, and he's talking about the mining in Africa. And I said, yeah, you're not concerned about the poisonous CO2 emissions in the lungs of anyone or anyone close to a nice vehicle. And of course, he made the point that yes, he does have cobalt in his iPhone, but it is a lot less than that's in a Tesla. So it's by degree then. At what point is it unethical to mine cobalt that goes in his phone? And of course, he replied with Teslas maybe pre-mid 2020, they use plenty of harmful stuff. So it's just your health from immediate proximity that you're worried about. not concerned about China's pollution and their funding of coal power stations, aided by the West's purchase of EVs, batteries. ICE vehicles in the UK is a drop of the ocean compared to China and the things like the world's biggest environment catastrophe. A lot more important issues than trying to tackle the supposed environmentally friendly benefits of EVs in the UK. Britain is a serious political and economic trouble right now, and laying off hundreds of car workers, it's not going to help. So he covers lots of points there. China does have a lot of coal, but it's producing vast amounts of batteries and electric vehicles, and it realised more than 20 years ago that it needed to go into electric vehicles because as their population was getting richer, they were leaving their bikes and going into cars, and it realised they couldn't go into ICE cars. Now, they weren't very good, the Chinese at the time, 25 years ago, of making ICE cars. And the new technology was electric vehicles. So they put the two together, and that's why now they lead the world in making electric vehicles. People will start saying, why are the Chinese making all these vehicles? Well, because they started before anyone else did, although GM did start actually, and then they crushed the whole idea because they knew it was going to be a very, very successful car. So the Chinese started about the same time as Tesla did. So the argument here is that the China have got all these coal-powered stations they're using, and they do have a lot of coal, but they also have a lot of batteries, and they also make a lot of batteries. They make a lot of cars. Now, I would be happy if my car had came from USA or Berlin, but he makes a valid point. I would be happy if Teslas were made in the UK. The final comment about laying off hundreds of car workers. There are companies in this country making batteries. There's a list here. I think it should be more. If you think back to British Volt that went bankrupt last year, why didn't we invest in that? We were investing heavily in North Sea oil and gas, but why not in newer energy that we can see the benefit from? And if you look at the world production of battery cells, well, China produces more than anyone else. Poland, US, Hungary, Germany follow, Sweden, South Korea, Japan. We should be doing more. If you're thinking about a Tesla, please use my link. Thanks to those people who have used it already. If you want to buy Jen and I a coffee, fantastic. Please leave a comment below if you're thinking of buying an electric vehicle, or if you've got one and what your experience has been. And that would be great. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.